States was not able to stop or prevent or reduce 9/11, yes, I totally am that way. I think the 9/11 commissioners believe that too.
Do you believe there was some kind of a conspiracy to cover up some government involvement?
Well, okay, now we're going back to my memo.
Can you just answer the question?
Can we switch?
You should actually pull up my memo, because in my memo, in the first or second line, I said it is wrong to puff, shade, skew, massage, tailor, or firm up statements of fact.
Do you believe there was a conspiracy to cover up some involvement in 9/11 and part of it?
And what I said is these terms are all kind of lighter forms of saying cover up. That's exactly. Listen, it's not a question of belief. I was actually inside the FBI, and after 9/11, it wasn't just the FBI either. No one really had a big incentive to tell the full and complete truth. When I just mentioned about George Tenet being briefed on August 23rd, he didn't go to the press. When you folks were interviewing Condi Rice or George Tenet or even President Bush about the presidential brief, did they tell you? Did anyone in the administration voluntarily tell you about the presidential brief? Did they tell you, George Tenet tell you that he was briefed on the Moussaoui case? Okay, and those are just little examples. And so what I am privy to is that there was not a lot of forthcoming truth after 9/11 for a lot of reasons. It's human nature not to want to tell the full, especially when you have lapses, and it's embarrassing.
There are lapses in all these things.
That's right.
What is the motivation on the part of elected government officials and their representatives in office to cover up?
What is the motivation? Well, in a bureaucracy, if you think, I use the priest pedophile cover up oftentimes, because priests are known to be good people. It's not because anyone's bad. But when a bad mistake occurs, there's a certain amount of, oftentimes, you want to put the best spin on it for the public, because your goal is, in the FBI, it's law enforcement. It's wanting to prevent terrorism. With the priests, for instance, it's wanting to keep people's religious faith. So if you have something that seems in your head the full truth will interfere with your goal, many times people will not tell the full truth. And that's what I teach ethics.
So your basic thing is this. You're saying that sir, we're trying to do this. We have this set up to back off. Thank you.
I actually appreciate, because this is
I don't care if they can just get out of our shop.
And the thing is, I have never in my life been interviewed like I was a criminal. I have to say, this is quite an aggressive interview. I used to actually, sometimes in media, we used to practice where you had to be a public official or something, because I was our media coordinator. I've never been attacked this way in my life.
Oh, I'm not attacking you.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get at what you believe, and it seems to be.
He's trying to do a headpiece.
It seems to be a little unclear. At your core belief, you think there are lapses. I get that.
Yes, absolutely. And
do you think there were any more than lapses here? That's what I don't quite understand.
When something wrongdoing occurs, there's a whole continuum, and the lightest form of a wrongdoing is something called negligence. And if you are negligent in just a real mistake, inadvertent mistake, certainly you can be sued. You can commit a tort. You could have rear-ended somebody.
On the one hand, you've got negligence.
On one hand,
you have malfeasance.
And on the other hand, you have something. For instance, if it was a murder, the other end of it would be.
So where's the government in this?
Okay, hold on, sir.
You keep spinning around my whole background.
So if this was a murder, for instance, you would have negligent homicide, and clear over here on this end, you would have when somebody plots to murder somebody, it's all planned out. What do they call it? Murder one.
Right. I get
premeditated.
So where does 9/11 stand?
In the middle, there is something called recklessness. And actually, recklessness is not a tort. It is actually a crime. You are prosecuted for recklessness. So when mistakes can go right up to the line where they become not merely negligent but reckless, they're actually criminal liability for those things. And I think that the mistakes that I know of, you can find sources for these, mistakes that are actually proven, quite well proven, in the 9/11 Commission, in the IG report that my memo gave rise to, in the judiciary. The judiciary even found out things. And there's other things that we have not yet found out. And the things I do know about already are negligent, and they are bordering. Some of them are so serious that they could be bordering on recklessness, reckless mistakes. Absolutely.
Criminal mistakes?
I would say, again, I just explained this to you, recklessness would be criminal, and the things I know of are bordering on that. You know, what you have to do is go into court, of course, to actually know where this falls. And even prosecutors, when they start a case, they don't know that themselves either until
What do you think about this movement, the Truther movement?
Well, like I said, movements and groups of people can have a whole range of individuals. I do know many 9/11 victims. There were the 4 ladies or 5 that actually were the advocates that pushed so hard for the 9/11 Commission. I know a couple of them are actually good friends. I didn't know them before this, but they became friends. I know a man whose sister died at 9/11. Of course, I feel a certain empathy with the fire, the rescue workers and stuff. When I did testify to the judiciary, I explained a whole page about why the truth matters to the victims and the witnesses, even the witnesses who just were there and traumatized. I was a victim witness coordinator in the FBI. For many years, I dealt with, you know, Native Americans who had been raped and all these types of things. And I know that if they are unable to get the full truth, even if it's, you know, a robbery, people can't rest. The full truth really matters. And criminal, of course, a criminal process is good for that because it allows this airing. It allows a prosecutor to say what evidence he has. Well, we've never really had that with 9/11. There was originally an extreme reluctance on the part of officials to even have a 9/11 commission. When they did constitute this 9/11 commission, they put it under enormous constraints. Time, they would not let them subpoena records. When they tried, for instance, to get the top officials like Bush and Cheney to come, that was agreed that they would only come for a short while, you know, basically together. So because of this now, the 9/11 commissioners, I think, or at least some of them, there's a book out, they say that they did not get the full truth. And there certainly are some murky areas still to this day. You saw this with JFK assassination. All throughout history, if people are unable to give the full truth in a quick way, in a pretty comprehensive way, what happens is these people will not let it go. And with victims, it's even worse because if your family member had been killed or you were a rescue worker and you worked for days on end, you would want to know the full truth about it. And I think that is a problem. The other thing is the motivations. You know, we were told, I'm sorry to digress here, but the other huge part about truth, I teach ethics. And so, for instance, I go around talking about cases like the priest pedophile where people didn't tell the truth. And because they don't tell the truth in a cover-up, the cover-up is so much worse than even those original failures.
You used the word cover-up again.
I used it just now in connection.
Right.
In my memo, I did write the word cover-up, but I said puff, shade, skew. It's probably not quite, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said that it's cover-up would be the strong term for these things.
Do you believe there's some kind of conspiracy to cover this up?